What's up, movie fans? Welcome back to another episode of Real Reactions. We've got me, we've got Jeremy, we've got Andy, and in today's episode, we are talking about A Man Called Otto, starring Tom Hanks. We all just watched it the other day. Boys, what are your thoughts?
I had no expectations going into this movie. Didn't do any research on it, didn't watch any trailers. I thought it was going to be like one of the newer Tom Hanks movies where he kind of just plays his typical character. And yeah, it's a good movie, not one of his better movies, but I was surprised by it. Simple plot to follow along. He had this grumpy character, which is a little bit different, but he had that endearing quality, which is the typical Tom Hanks. But he was more grumpy, which, I appreciated. Heartfelt, supporting characters. There were a lot of good ones. Kind of brought into the story where you felt like this was a close-knit street. I won't even say a community. It was more just
the block.
The villain. Could have done without the villain, but I overall enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I was very surprised as well by how powerful the movie was. I watched a 1-minute trailer and it showed the scene of him being a grumpy old man in the hardware store. So I was like, okay, it's a movie about Tom Hanks being old and cranky. Okay, go. And then I'm like, whoa, it's actually about a lot of different things. It's about dealing with deep depression after the loss of a loved one that you've had in your life for a super long time and contemplating suicide. It's about your community and how powerful that is and your daily routine and the ins and outs that go about that and how people can save your life accidentally. Like, without his neighbors and without the good memories of Sonia, his wife, this movie would have been 10 minutes long. But obviously that wasn't the case and was what made it powerful. There's moments where you're laughing. There's moments where you're not sure what's going to happen next. There's moments where, a little tear might glisten in your eye from how heartfelt it is. I thought it had a lot of powerful elements. I was very satisfied for sure.
This movie gets you emotionally. You get hooked in. It's a Tom Hanks film, so you're gonna see something that's moving, that he picked a script that is just gonna definitely be one of the most impactful scripts, especially when there's not a ton of action, if at all. And the entire time you're roped into the story. I mean, the script is a page turner if you just read the script directly. And there's a lot of themes in it that are modern. You have not only the themes of suicide throughout, an aging man, loss of his wife, and coming to terms with his loneliness. And you also have the trans character, Malcolm, who's a great character too. You get to love everyone in the story, and I think it opens a lot of minds and hearts. It has a really good feeling to the whole movie. Won't spoil the ending, but you may drop a tear too by the end of it because it really is that moving.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a movie that makes you think, right? When you go into it with either no or low expectations, you're like, okay, I'm just going to watch a movie about someone being old and mad. I didn't realize I was going to be thinking about what it would be like to not have my significant other in my life. Yes, Malcolm actually saves his life once in the movie, so shout out to him for doing that.
He does, yep, that's true.
But yeah, I was actually watching it with Kat. I don't know if you watched it with Steph, but I was just...
I did.
So what was your guys' favorite scene or scenes in the movie? Because I feel like there's a good amount of them.
One of the most memorable scenes is when he gets in a fight with Beepo the clown, and he makes that guy cry.
I knew that was going to happen too. As soon as he gave the quarter over, I was like,
oh yeah, something's going down
here.
Once Beepo entered, I knew it was like, nope, something's going to happen. Beepo's either going to get crying or the kids are going to start crying.
It's not going to end up well for Beepo, no matter what.
Not with a clown name like that.
No, yeah, and he interrupts the story. Otto is getting into it, right? The kids always have a way of diffusing his tension. Even when he's parallel parking the car, he sees him in the back. He's like, "Oh, I need to chill a little bit. There's kids here." He's reading the book. He's doing the bear voices for them, and then here comes Beepo, ready to ruin story time.
And not just that, it also affects the writer, the audience that way too. You feel frustrated because you feel like Otto's making a shift in his personality, he's almost there, he's gonna become a good loving person, and then Beepo steps in and just squanders that. Now I do have a poll to ask for those who have seen it. Who got it worse, Beepo the clown or the truck driver that kept honking while Otto was teaching Marisol to drive? Put in the comments.
I was gonna say Beepo. He got his tie ripped off, assaulted, he got left crying. That's going to scar Beepo for life.
It was more emotional damage, I would say, but the physical damage, the truck driver is getting almost lifted and put against his truck. Like
He is getting lifted and thrown against his
Yeah,
truck.
like,
That's assault and battery.
That was Otto showing
You know
the
that-
old man strength that everybody talks about.
He
right?
didn't just threaten. I felt like people got a strong warning, whereas
It's true, the truck driver did get threatened. It's like, if I ever hear you honk again.
He was gonna get wrecked.
yeah, Bebo got his pocket ripped. I mean, it happens. Bebo should have seen it coming. I bet that's not the first time it happened in Bebo either.
And I think they talked about it a little bit. They're like, that cost money. Like, that's not from the hospital. That's out of his own pocket. So emotionally, and his wallet got affected as well. But I
Yeah.
still think he wasn't ready for that smoke in the street. Like, he was hoping that the light was going to go back to green so they could just go on with the rest of their day.
Yeah.
But yeah, favorite scene for me, speaking of that, was the pep talk scene right at that time. Like, they're in the car and she's flustered, the honking is getting to her, she's not able to deal with the clutch and getting the car moving in time for the green light, so she has to sit through another red, and she's just sitting there like teary-eyed and just like, I don't think I can do this. And he gives her that pep talk, like, you've had kids, you went to school, you got educated, you're leading your family, leading the nitwit husband that you have back at home. You have a third kid on the way, you're a powerful mother, and if you can do all of those things, learning how to drive will be a cakewalk for you when you put your mind to it.
There's like idiots
Yeah.
who do this stuff, and
Right.
you're not an idiot.
Exactly.
You are not
Yeah.
a complete idiot.
Like,
Right.
if he had a senior quote from high school, it'd probably be like, you're an idiot. He just loved calling people idiots.
Everyone was an idiot except for him.
I think even she knew, like, that means a lot coming from you.
Yeah.
So that was definitely mine.
Just surprised he made her drive manual.
He's completely
American builds.
unmodernized. He has not conformed to society, and anything that happened in the last 30 years, he does not want to be a part
He's
of.
lost a friendship over the car wars.
Ford versus
Ford
Chevrolet.
versus Chevy.
And then he was gonna
He's ready to make amends.
and he's like, Toyota.
Right.
And he's like, nope, let me take that bottle back.
And
Yeah.
it was a pretty nice Toyota too. They had
The Celica.
the drop down, like,
Yeah, I thought it was great.
This guy's styling. He's an old guy. He wants to ball out. Otto said, "No, we're not friends still."
But I think that's Otto's character fully. I mean, he's so meticulous with everything he does. He's controlling every situation. He likes things a very certain way. Even to the point where when he went to hang himself, when he does that, he puts down newspapers over his rug. Like, if you're about to off yourself, what do you care about what happens to the rug?
Yeah,
It's his meticulous
Right.
nature.
He wants his house kept a certain way, even if he's gonna go. Doesn't want anything falling from the ceiling. Doesn't want dust being on the floor. In the shotgun scene, he's got the Dexter layout with all of the plastic covering. He's got his kill room ready to go. So
Yeah.
when he pulls the trigger, the mess will be easy cleanup. The house is still in pristine condition. Yeah, I mean, even the garage was really cleaned up for the scene where he was just gonna pass out and go that way. When he opens it up and moves the car out of the way, I was like, that garage barely has anything in it. It was like 2 shovels on the side, and that
It's
was
like
it.
his car, shovels, and it's like a workstation.
Yeah, the messiest one would have been the train track, but that was out of his house, so I guess he was like, yeah, it's fine, they'll clean it up and it'll be good to go.
Those people paid for that specifically.
Yeah. What about your favorite scene, Andy? What was yours?
It was hard because I didn't feel like it was that movie where like many scenes really were like that memorable. But
Something struck a chord though.
I found it funny when like Marisol and Tommy come back from their date night and Tommy goes in the kitchen and he sees like the dishwasher fixed or like put in.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just start laughing because like that's the same reaction probably most people should have, and especially coming from the Tommy character who's like the inept, dad, husband.
He's just the IT guy. He knows
who just
nothing
can't,
else.
Who can't do much. Like, he can't do much like yard work.
And they didn't even film him fixing it. They could have done a montage, but no, they showed one part where he's, babysitting the kids, and he takes one look
And,
at
like,
the
but that's what-
washing
you knew he
machine.
was gonna
You
do
knew
it.
he was going to do it because like he sees it. The kids
Dishwasher.
are like, Daddy says that's broken. And he's like,
Oh,
he's
yeah, that's
fixing.
what he
He's
said.
he's fixing.
Yeah.
it. Like
I was
Yeah.
like, it's a lock. He
It's
uses
on.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a handyman. Like, whether it's a house appliance or with your car, he's got you.
There's also a big part of this story, which is, hey, maybe we should pay more attention to the geriatrics of our country. Because they're widowers and living a lonely life, and sometimes they get ignored all the time and not paid attention to, and then they get taken advantage of. And we could talk further about dying America.
Well, fun fact.
Dying America.
Die America.
Suicide is actually higher among elderly than it is for younger people.
This movie kind of brings that to light too, just
Yeah.
because you don't think of that stuff, right? Like if you are just living with you and your wife, kids have moved on, maybe they have their own lives and they don't live there, or you don't have any kids like in their situation.
You're getting forced out of your job.
Right.
Hey, if you're listening out there, call your grandparents.
Yeah.
Just tell them you love them
Check
if they're
on
still
them.
around. Call someone old in your life.
Or your parents.
Or your parents.
Or your
Call them up.
parents, yeah.
Let them know you love them and
Anyone
you're
elderly.
thinking
It
about
could be
them.
aunt, uncle, you know.
Could save a life.
Kind of leads me into the next thing though. So favorite quote, this was mine, kind of ties into this here a little bit. So Otto says, "I got so wrapped up in my own troubles I stopped thinking about anyone else, and I figured they weren't thinking about me. Friends shouldn't do that." And that was him talking to his boy that they had their falling apart when they're probably in their 30s, it looked like about. Whether it was the car wars or disagreements on how things went down with the HOA. It was someone that he was basically running that community with, and things fell apart, and as he got old he just stayed kind of bitter and spiteful, and it took him a while, but eventually he comes around and he's like, yeah, I shouldn't have been that way, like we're friends, that's not what friends do.
They both pretty much ran that little community, like chasing after people that you saw
Yeah.
in like those flashbacks. I feel like he always cared, because like once he found out like when Anita was like had Parkinson's, he was like, well, why didn't you tell me? Like all grumpy.
Right.
And like he was trying, if you give me back my hose, I'll fix your radiator.
Right, you just needed an
He
excuse.
just needed an excuse. I feel like they were always like that friend, but he just got grumpy, and then that was like his like aha moment. It's like, all right, I can't be grumpy anymore.
Right.
Sonia wouldn't have wanted it that way.
Exactly.
So he always ties it back into his wife.
You don't ever want to leave your friends hanging, right? Like your near and dear close friends, even if you get old and you grow apart a little bit, stay connected, right? Like don't let distance or a silly disagreement lead to the end of a lifelong friendship. So I was a big fan of that one for sure. What about you guys?
I think my favorite line is a two-liner. Jimmy, he's doing his weird walking and he sees the social
High stepping around.
high stepping, right? And he
It's like
sees
leaping.
yeah. He sees a social media journalist. The social media journalist asks him as she's passing by, says, "Hey, I'm looking for Otto Anderson," and he says, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Sherry Kensey. I'm a social media journalist. I'm looking for Otto Anderson.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, that was a laugh out loud moment for sure. Jimmy was just
Yeah.
a very likable guy. Like,
He was. He's fun.
wholesome.
He's an idiot.
yeah, but he's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah. This movie is full of good people, and although it shows their quirks, it shows them in their best light too. You know, showing there's a little bit of good in everyone.
Jimmy had like a few funny lines, like when he like first takes the cat in, then he comes back, it's like, I forgot I was allergic.
Right.
Oh, that's
It's like
funny.
a huge rash on his
Big
neck.
rash.
And I'm
I was like,
you
oh
just
my
forget
God.
you were allergic to cats.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, it's Jimmy. Like,
It's
you know,
Jimmy.
he's
Too nice.
he's high stepping around to like a block.
Yeah.
But I also found it funny. One of the quotes I liked is when they kept saying like, "What's a social media journalist?"
Yes.
Because it's like, even like now, it's like, what even is that?
It's a journalist on social media.
Yeah, they haven't made it to the big leagues to get onto a newscast.
Hey, you could still be on social media and be in the big leagues. I mean, there's
It was
plenty of
it was
ways to
just funny that it was
monetize.
like
and-
always referred as a social media journalist.
Right.
Everybody was talking about it, and like nobody still had a clue what.
From my perspective, you know, I'm 30s and I'm like social media reporter. I can only imagine Otto being like, "What the heck is this?" Like, absolutely not. Slamming the door in her face, locking her in his garage. Like, you can figure out how to get home from there.
It's so funny how the director just pushes that into your face. It's like social media, social media, social media
Right.
throughout that whole movie.
Well, they tied it in well because when it initially happened, I was like, this side character makes no sense. Why did they include this person and give her like this specific title? But then when they loop it in at the end and it's like, oh, we need to get this out, who can we call? The social media reporter, right? She'll bring social awareness to this crime that Die America is trying to get one over on the elderly in this community and steal their homes, and they basically take them down as it's about to happen, right? The two henchmen are ready.
They were pivotal in that. I mean,
Yeah.
if they weren't part of that, it wouldn't hold as much weight. It wouldn't have the same effect. I
Yeah.
feel like they
Once
fit
he saw
into the story
camera,
very nicely.
The camera
Yeah.
scared him off because
Yeah.
the neighbors filming on their phones, I don't think would have bothered him too much. But when they saw the camera and
The professional,
the
big
professional
camera.
reporter
Like,
come through,
when she said, we're live, she's
Right.
like, oh god, we're
I
live.
was like, all right.
Oh yeah, that one. That really
I gotta
got
get out of
it.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah. Also, his his gripe with the UPS truck. Kind of a funny little just exchange there. He's annoyed that the UPS truck is blocking the driveway. He bangs on the truck like, why do you brown guys always do it and not the white guys? I like the white guys better. And I'm not saying that in a racial way.
Yeah.
You know, the other guys don't do this. The guys with the white trucks. How come it's always you brown guys? And I don't mean that racially.
So obviously that was a tie-in to the times, right? Like he's just because he's an old guy doesn't mean he's racist, right?
Right.
So he's just letting them know. And also he was a FedEx guy in Castaway, so
Interesting.
Little Easter egg.
I didn't think about that Easter egg.
yeah. So that was a nice little tie-in that you told me about because I didn't catch that on the first watch, so that was pretty cool.
And when he first meets Tommy and Marisol, and Tommy is parking the U-Haul trailer, he's like, "What are you doing?" And Tommy is like, "I'm parallel parking the trailer." And Tom Hanks is like, "Parallel to what?" Grabs his keys, parks it himself. You know,
He had some good zingers. For
great
sure.
introduction. I mean, again, it's not like this. It's not an action film, but the story is moving and things are happening, and there's a lot of like scenes where you're just like, "Ooh, that was intense," or you know.
Yeah, she gets him back
She
too.
worked out.
Actually, after that,
Yeah.
I forgot the exact exchange, but when he's like trying to tell her that he's not mad or cranky or having a bad day or something.
Everything you say is like warm cuddles. It
like
really
warm-
is.
yeah.
Something along those
Yeah.
lines. That was good.
Yeah, when
Unfriendly.
Poquito
I
sick.
am not.
No? Okay, you're not. No. You're not unfriendly. Every word you say is like a warm cuddle. It really is.
she said it, I was
Marisol.
like, all right,
And she's got the
threw it back.
accent. She's so cute. She's such a great side character.
She was my favorite side.
She was your favorite.
I just love how
definitely-
like she always like made him food. And he was like just taking it, but he's like, I'm just gonna take it. But then he's like, oh, this
He always
Yeah,
goes, and you know what?
actually
That
really
food
good.
looks so good.
Yeah.
I would love it. I'm looking at that. There's like some rice and some barbacoa or something.
Yeah.
It's like really good
Hooked
food in
him up
there.
with the traditional mole and then
Uh-huh.
some El Salvadorian cookies. But yeah, I mean, Marisol for sure was my favorite side character. I feel like she's pivotal to moving the story along. She saves his life in the first two suicide attempts. Obviously, Sonia does as well with the flashbacks and just him thinking on that. But without her knocking on his door, knocking on his garage, there's a chance that he still just lets that memory fade.
And I like
into-
how she stood up to him too. Like when
Yeah.
he needed to use her phone because he never turned on
Right.
his electricity.
Right.
She was like, no,
Right.
not until you tell me why you're so angry, grumpy, why you stormed out.
Right.
And he was like, fine, like here's the story.
Because she
They
was
laid
like,
it out,
we're
yeah.
building a rapport. Like I was genuinely concerned for you, and you left me outside when I don't know what's going on in there. You're an old guy. Like she probably thought the worst, and she wanted an explanation. Yeah, like she was the only one. I mean, Jimmy's not doing that.
Right.
Like Jimmy's just like, he's old, he's grumpy. I'm not gonna deal with him.
And she was so real too. She was like this real person, and she had, even though she had perfect comedic timing, she was a genius with the comedy, and you were laughing at so many points that she was making. I mean, she really is a great actor. You really grow to love the Marisol character. She
Yeah,
did an
I mean,
awesome job.
Even in the scene that I liked with the pep talk in the car, like he even mixed in a little bit of Spanish in there to relay the message even more and make it more relatable to her. So in that moment, I was like, yeah, he's truly coming along. Like you could see his character arc moving its way towards his redemption arc, where he's going
Right.
to be the good neighbor instead of the cranky, mean neighbor.
And he really loved being called Abuelo Otto.
Yeah.
Right? He really loved that. I mean, he
Abuelo
he
Otto.
embraced it.
What about you guys? Side characters?
I think it's Marisol too. I mean, she just
Yeah.
steals the show at so many
I would
points.
say
and
like
yeah.
Marisol / Tommy, because Tommy also
Yeah.
does like the hilarious side character, but he's more of the nitwit.
Right.
Where it's just like whatever he does is just completely wrong, always annoys Otto, but then it's like hilarious at the same time.
Right. He wants to drive the car at the end. Marisol's like, nah, that's not allowed.
Because it's fun, because in the will, it's like, make sure Tommy doesn't drive. And he's
Right.
like, give me the keys. And she's like, no.
No, not allowed. Yeah, definitely. They were the power duo for the side characters. Jimmy, honorable mention. He's just a very wholesome guy, very happy guy. Helps the neighbors too, because just because you have a social media journalist like blowing up your spot, there still needs to be someone that can take care of Anita and Ruben when they do need the help. And he was like, yeah, they've been like family to me. I eat dinner here basically every night. Of course I'm going to take care of him. So honorable mention is Jimmy for sure.
Yeah.
Surreal moment or plot hole?
I was just more confused with like the whole real estate company. Are they trying to like knock down that whole place? Because like they said like they built like developments all around them.
They're kicking out the people that own the homes and moving in renters, and that's where Marisol and Tommy come in as renters, whereas Otto owns his house and Anita owns her house. So I think they're trying to take the property so they can start renting them out.
Yeah,
and it shows the evil real estate industry.
How do they have all these, like this access, right? Like
right, they have
illegal
tons of
medical files.
Yeah, everything.
They've got, goons on call. The guy can just drive on the sidewalk to get into the property, and no one bats an eye except for Otto, and Otto's just considered like the cranky old man, so no one cares, right?
I wouldn't say it's completely implausible that this could ever happen, but again, a lot of this movie, it's like subtleties that make it what it is. So, and old people do get taken out of their homes, and there are companies, usually it's like part of these nursing home things where the old people become, I forgot what it's called, like warden of the state or something, and they basically say, oh, you can't care for yourself and you don't have any family that has proved that they can take care of you. So we're going to force you into a nursing home, possess your house, and then they can then sell their house and any of their properties in care of this person. And then pay themselves whatever they want in salary out of that income that they get.
I had another plot hole. The $8 bouquets.
Oh, that is so unrealistic. That would never happen.
What city, what town,
right?
Even
oh my
the gas station, you can't even get
2
that
bouquets for one for $8?
Yeah, I know that it takes place in Pennsylvania, and it's rural Pennsylvania. It's not Philly or like Pittsburgh, but still, like, where are you getting 2 full bouquets for $8?
Even the gas stations, it's like $12 for like a dozen roses, and that's a steal.
Right.
But like 2 bouquets for $8?
Yeah.
It's not happening.
That one,
completely unrealistic.
Yeah, that one, like when I saw it too, I was like, "There's no way."
Prove us wrong. Put it in the chats. An image of an actual advertisement.
Yeah, maybe the place was
2
going out of
bouquets for
business or something.
$8.
I don't know. They were advertising in the newspaper, but still, I did find that a little far fetched. My surreal moment or plot hole was kind of similar to that. Just an abnormal moment where they're having the cake for his retirement party. And the coworker goes to cut the cake, and the first cut is just straight through the middle, right through his face.
Who does that?
Yeah,
no one does it. Like, unless there's going to be a spin-off where that person is a serial killer, and that was like the tell sign that this person likes stabbing people in the face. Like, no one starts off a cake in the center, let alone just slicing it into 4 big pieces.
Yeah, 4 huge pieces. I mean,
when you
what
cut
the heck?
how big you want, you go like right down the middle.
Start at a corner, make some boxes along the edges and work your way towards the middle. You're not slicing a happy retirement, a picture. You're not starting to,
especially not on a big rectangular cake. I could see maybe a small circle cake. You'd slice it like a pizza pie or something. But
this was a big rectangle.
This was a huge rectangle
right down the middle. He was just like big smile on his face. He's like, "Who wants cake?"
And by the way, those were terrible people. Even though they were smiling, they were made to be the normal people at the beginning. I mean, those were microaggressions that we were seeing there. I mean, they were treating him very insensitively.
I think they were there to like kind of like set up like, oh, this is the grumpy old Otto. Hope he's yelling over
a cake, right?
He's yelling over like the difference of like $1.06 or $1.15.
It was 33 cents.
33 cents.
33 cents. Give it to him.
Your total is $3.47.
You charged me for 6 feet of rope.
Oh yes, it's 99 cents a yard.
I didn't get 2 yards. I got 5 feet.
Yeah, we don't charge by the foot. We charge by the yard.
99 cents a yard is 33 cents a foot times 5. That's $1.65. You charged me $1.98.
You're good at math.
We had changes.
They don't tell you why he's so grumpy. He's like, we kind of figure out what he needs the rope for because he's like trying to tie it in the store. You're like, all right, he's trying to kill himself, but like, why? He's just like this grumpy guy getting forced out of retirement.
To me, I mean, maybe they were trying to just illustrate how like terrible his work environment was. But I feel like they kind of showed you how grumpy he was with The scene in the hardware store with the rope arguing about, principle, not the 33 cents. The recycling bothers him. Everything bothers him. The street bothers him. People parking bothers him. If you don't put your parking permit on your mirror and it's in the dash, it bothers him. If there's snow in your driveway, it bothers him. The bike not being in the bike rack. Literally, it has things that have nothing to do with him bother him. So I don't think they needed to have just like a sicko slicing through his face on the cake.
What they were trying to show in the beginning, this is a guy that just gets annoyed by everything. This is why he's going to kill himself, not because he's alone, his wife died, and then once you figure it out, you're like, okay, he's not that grumpy.
Honorable mention for me was the train. You've got the fake influencers heading to the museum and they see a guy fall onto the tracks and all of their immediate reactions are, let's record it. Like no one says help him or what are we gonna do? All of them are just standing there with their phones waiting. Like the train's a good ways away because Otto is thinking like, this guy's ruining my moment. That was supposed to be me. Like totally mistimed. I guess I'll go in there and save him now. I'm not gonna kill myself, right? I might as well get him out of the way and then I'll think about if I want to stay down there or not. Like he's contemplating that for a while. None of the other people have the wherewithal to be like, maybe we should try to help. No, they're all just, let's record it. And maybe that's just the writers taking a shot at like the youth of the times, but I was like, surely even if it was us and we were kids, like we would jump down there and try to help the guy.
Oh, that's what trends on a lot of social media. So it's not completely out of the question that a lot of people there bring up their phones, and that's why we see so much on social media today of all this action going down on the subway, etc., because that's what people do. The first thing they do is bring out their phone, then jump in and help. I do think it's unrealistic that no one really was reacting or like worried about this guy, and they were all kind of on the same page of let's just
we're
observe
about to watch
and,
this guy get run over.
Yeah.
And even when Otto helps him, like, and then he just is like, oh great, he's done, he's safe. Nah, I'm just gonna stay here.
Right.
Nobody helps him until the very end.
That one guy, I don't know if he showed up late to the scene.
That guy must have like some super strength to just
let me
grab
extend
him and
an
pull
arm
him away, like
Yeah.
5 seconds before the train just goes running through.
Yeah, big dude, strong arm. Wouldn't want to face him in an arm wrestling competition.
So my gripe about it was the cat jumping into the box on command when Otto goes.
CGI.
Yes.
The fun fact of the movie.
Which disappointed me when you told me.
Yeah, the cat is mostly CGI. Like all the scenes where it's doing any type of action is CGI. Even the scenes where it's moving in people's arms. There's a scene where Jimmy is giving the cat to Otto. I saw it online. It's just, I think it's like a picture of like a gray foam thing. It wasn't, and then they just edited around it. And
yeah.
The editing crew initially was actually mad at them for picking that cat because it was so fluffy. But they were able to make it work. So.
Oh yeah, that must have been a lot of CGI work. I mean, that's unrealistic. You're not training a cat to do that, and if you do, like, really hats off to you. Amazing.
Yeah,
do you think like that cat was like his dead wife, like incarnated or something?
Sonia just coming to chill for.
Yeah, because it felt like the cat's watching him, the cat's around him, taking care of him, and then the book that. The book that Sonia drops is like Marguerite and the cat. So I'm wondering if there's any reference there. Maybe look at a synopsis of it later. But I don't know. I feel there's some connection there between the cat and Sonia.
It's true. The cat was very clingy because like he would take him to the cemetery and like he's just holding the cat.
Right.
No leash, no collar, no bag. You're just holding, stroking.
And it's a feral cat.
It's
so
a feral
not
cat.
like it's tame and chilling. It's a cat that's known to go on the prowl and do its own thing.
When Otto meets Sonia, his future wife, for the first time on the train, he brings her book that he saw that she dropped. He goes up to her and he's just staring at her for a good minute. And she's looking up and she smiles a bit. But it's like so creepy until she's like, oh, what you got there? Oh, you know. And then invites him to sit down. And I'm thinking like, this guy is the biggest creep you've ever seen. You don't invite him to sit down. You're like, can you excuse me or something? Like, that was unrealistic. I think if they added in that scene like horror music in the background, it could easily be like a psychotic killer is about to slash this lady.
He's locked into his prey.
And even when like the conductor was like, oh, you have the wrong ticket, and he's like trying to get cat cash out, and she's like, I'll give you change. I'd be like, all right, man, you gotta get out of here.
Well, that I felt like she kind of owed him that because
For returning the book.
he missed his train to
Right.
give her book.
Yeah,
like
that's
the
fair.
least she could do. She was so excited about getting it. If you got the 75 cents, give it to the guy.
Yeah, that's fair. She was,
You know.
she was grateful throughout, right? Because not only does she's like so thankful
good
that she
woman.
gets the book,
Yeah.
she helps him with his ticket, and then the next time they see each other, she is the one that's progressive. She was ahead of her time, a progressive woman being like, "You should invite me on a date." There's women out there now that are like, "I'm never gonna ask a guy to go out on a date. They have to ask me, right?"
And they're still single.
They might be, right? Like, play hard to get, you don't get got sometimes. That's how it goes, right? And she was like, I'm going to take control. I'm going to tell him that we should go out. When they go out, he has the chicken broth or the matzo ball soup,
Oh
whatever
my God,
the special
yeah.
of the day was. And she's like, why didn't you eat anything? He's like, oh, I ate at home. I wanted to make sure you could get whatever you wanted. She was locked in at that moment. She was
Yeah.
like so grateful that he thought ahead and was like, I only have X amount of money because I don't have a job yet after not making it into the
And he
army.
wanted her to get whatever she wanted. And that was
Yeah.
so nice. He's
My
a
God.
perfect gentleman.
Classic
Perfect gentleman.
Hanks.
Classic
Yeah.
young Otto coming
Yeah.
through. But yeah, in today's times, that might have gone a little differently with a creepy guy just staring at you for a minute, I'm
It
sure.
would have been pretty bad. Yeah, it wouldn't have gone down like
I
that.
think most times that would be very creepy.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That is fair. One of the quotes that I forgot to mention that I thought was pretty funny when Otto's talking about why he feels so compelled to work with Tommy, because he didn't know an Allen wrench from one of the chipmunks. He thinks
Oh,
it's
yeah,
an
that's
Alvin
funny.
wrench the whole time.
What about Alvin Wrench? Is he coming?
I thought the cinematography, the choice to do the flashback shots in the way that they did them was really well done. In the scene where he's buying the train ticket in the ticket booth on the desk, there's something that has a reflection. It's like a mirror of some sort. It's his young self standing there, but it's old Otto in the reflection. I like that. When he's dreaming about the train, they kind of put it in his window and bring it back into his bedroom in that setting. I just thought they did a really good job with how they transitioned.
Yeah,
into
I liked how they blended
flashbacks.
too, because I feel like if they separated it, it would have just felt like two different movies. I like how they made the connections, like because of these events in the past, that's why he's this way. So I liked how they kind of like transitioned or blended back and forth, like what old Otto was doing, especially with the suicides, and how it connected back to like the younger self and how it bridged. That could have been the reasons why he didn't fully do the suicide.
Obviously, it's prominent throughout, so we were going to keep talking about it, right? Like, why is he wanting to commit suicide? I think it was not only the fact that he didn't have his wife in his life anymore, but when they have the flashbacks of the scene where they're taking the bus to Niagara Falls for their honeymoon and they have the tragic accident that leads to her becoming paralyzed. She was pregnant. He was supposed to
Right.
have a son. So
Right.
that's part of it too, right? He's reflecting on his life and he's like, if that damn bus never crashed, like I could be hanging out with my son right now maybe, or who knows, right? Like my wife might still be here, or we'd have different memories, right?
And the
That's-
trans kid, Malcolm, and that's why he really has a connection to him, because his like, why
Right,
did
'cause
he
he
kick you?
brings it up.
Right? Why did your dad kick you out? Oh, it's because of the way you are. And it's like, well, he's an idiot. He knows if he had a kid, he would have loved that kid no matter what. If only he had the chance to, if it didn't die before it was born, So that really hit home for him. He's like, come on inside. And I thought that was a really great moment, and it makes you like see real humanity and
giving people a chance, right? Like
give people a chance.
He didn't let that
for who
bother
they
him.
are.
And when Malcolm says Sonia was actually my teacher, and she was one of the first people to call me by my name, and like told all the other teachers to do that, and she supported me.
Right.
Like Otto was like,
he's like,
hell
okay,
yeah, like my wife
that's
was
what
a
I'm
real
gonna
one.
do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna honor that. That was what my wife wanted to do.
And Malcolm also, what a great actor, and kept it real. It wasn't like he was really down to earth. He wasn't being over dramatic about it. You felt really connected to him even more because he was so down to earth and like.
And then he helps him with his bike. He hooks him up with the car. Like that connection took off from that point. He wasn't just the kid throwing on people's lawns anymore, right? So
yeah, that was really cool.
Good character arc as well.
Yeah, let's get down to it.
Ratings time.
I'm gonna give this movie 3.6 out of 5. Good movie, easy to follow. It gets you invested in the characters, kind of like all of the characters. I mean, you can kind of know how the movie is gonna end, just like the way it starts. And you're like, all right, he's gonna have this redemption, and it's gonna end on a sad note, just because that's how most of Tom Hanks's movies have been going. And then once they explain like he's got a big heart, you're like, all right, he's gonna kick the bucket at some point towards the end of the movie. I'll watch again, probably not. And this is more of like a one and done.
I felt that way too, right? Like as I'm watching, I'm like, this is a good movie. I'm surprised by how good it is. But when it ended, I was like, that was a good watch. Don't know the next time I'll watch it, if ever. My rating was a 3.3. Solid.
Wow.
Yeah, solid movie. I was interested from the beginning to the end. If I, missed something or thought I didn't hear something the right way, I did a quick, 30-second rewind just to make sure I was able to keep it going. So I was happy about that.
So 3.6, 3.3. Let's call the genre what it is. It is an arty drom-com. And for that, I'm going to give it a 4.1. And I'll tell you why. Strong 4.1, because Tom Hanks does an amazing job, as always. Every character in this movie was very well written. It was well thought about. They all have a part that fits in very well to the film. The film moves. There's not a part where you're like, okay, it's a drama, it's dragging on. That never happened. You're fully invested in the film, fully invested in the characters. They included the modern touch and relevancy to today in a way that's not overdone, and took a different approach to it, a unique view, and they fully got you feeling for the characters, emotionally moved you. I even teared up, at the end, and, I watched it twice in 2 days, because it was that good. I didn't mind watching it again, and I've already recommended it to a bunch of friends. I think they did a really excellent job, and I think that you don't see writing like this very often. I love the film. I love the actors. I can't wait to see what the other actors do next, and especially what Tom Hanks does next, because he's just always killing it. Another episode of Real Reactions, A Man Called Otto. Watch it on Netflix. Thank you for joining.
Peace.